to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for joining us today. Get ready to be inspired and motivated to live a high-impact life. Now, here's Rick.
Welcome to the Point of Impact podcast. I'm Rick McDaniel. It is great to have you joining us again today as we continue this series of episodes we've been doing on golden nuggets of wisdom, lessons learned, whatever you want to call it, that I want to share with you that has just benefited me in so many ways. And we've got several more to go. But today we're going to be on a subject, success, which is the single greatest theme that I've covered in over 200 episodes on the Point of Impact podcast. There's no other theme that has had more episodes dedicated to it than that of success. I have talked about it, and I have talked about it, and I've talked about it in many different ways. But I've never talked about it the way I'll talk about it today, which is the idea of success as a journey, that success is not a destination. But here's the thing. Usually it's either this, success is a journey, or success is a destination. But actually, most accurately, it would be this. Success is a journey with stops along the way. So it's not that it's just a journey, and it's not that it is a destination you reach. It is a journey, but along that journey, there are stops along the way. I think that's the most accurate way to talk about success. So today we're going to do it again, where it's like a diamond. You know, there's so many different facets to it, and if that diamond is success, man, I have shown a lot of different facets over these years of what success is all about in many, many, many different ways. But today is a new way, and in some way a macro way, kind of an overview way to look at success. So we'll jump into that in just a moment. But before we do, I just recorded some new devotions for the Pray app. And so I just want to take a moment and make sure you know about the Pray app and my show called Daily Devotions with Rick McDaniel. Now, if you're listening to this podcast on the Pray app, then you know all about it already. And there are certainly many people that do. But because this podcast can be listened to on virtually every podcast platform out there, from iHeartRadio to Apple to Spotify to, Amazon, you name it, we're on it. So however it is that you may be listening to it, I want you to know that I also do something else you can listen to, and that is a show called Daily Devotions. And that is found on the Pray app, or pray.com, and the Pray app, same thing, just like the Bible app, bible.com, same sort of thing, which I'll talk about next week because I'm on that as well. But let's just talk about the Pray today, that you can go on there and you can listen to a devotion each day or each morning, whatever it might be. 2 or 3 minutes is all it'll take. There are well over 200. I think with these that I've just added, I think it's probably close to 230. So that's a lot to listen to. And there's also some videos on there of me speaking, and there's some special ones for holidays like Easter and Christmas. There's a number of different aspects of content. You can find me under the featured leaders section. That's where you would find me. And it's a big thing just for those of you that are, maybe new to me and looking me up. This is actually the largest platform. I think I have something like 270 something thousand, 73, 75, something like that followers. So this is my largest following of the various ones that are out there. So lots of people like to consume this content, and I encourage you to do the same thing. So download the Pray app and go look at featured leaders for Rick McDaniel, High Impact Living, Rick McDaniel, and take advantage of the content that you find there. I think you'll really like it. All right, so success. Success is a journey with stops along the way. How about this for a really, really powerful scripture verse, a verse out of the Bible? Just listen to this in Jeremiah 29, and it's verse 11. I will bless you with a future filled with hope, a future of success, not of suffering. Now, there will be suffering in our lives. That's not what the Bible's saying, that you get exempt. Jesus suffered, we will suffer. We will have problems, difficulties, challenges, trials, hardships, call them what you may, setbacks, all those things. Those are part of life. But ultimately, our future is one of success. It's one of experiencing success. Success is a journey. And there are stops along the way that we mark as we move forward in this journey called success. Again, in that journey, there will be some challenges as well. But overall, we will be blessed with a future filled with hope, a future of success. Now, man, that is exciting to ponder and to consider, that God has a successful future for you, that God wants you to be successful. And I'll define success in a moment just to make sure we are all on the same page, because of course some define success solely in material terms, and that would be missing it. Again, you don't have to throw out the material like it has nothing to do with it, but it's very, very minor in terms of the larger idea of what success is all about, of which it's a part, but there's more to it than that for sure. When I think about how to evaluate success in my own life, I look at it through a lens of 5 different lenses. And those would be spiritual. The second would be health. The third would be relationships. The fourth would be career. And the fifth would be financial. How are you doing in those different areas of your life? I mean, that's what you have to ask yourself. How am I doing in these? This is in other words, it would be foolish to, again, just to stay on the financial, the material, just for a moment, not to bang on that too hard, but just because a lot of people go, he's successful, and really they're just talking about, say, money. Money is one. If you have reached financial success, but your relationships, your family, your marriage, your children, your friendships are just woefully inadequate, there's no way you could call yourself a success. If you were to say have good relationships, and that would be fantastic, but your health was terrible, that you just don't take care of your body. The Bible says that the body's the temple of the Holy Spirit. We only get one of them, and you just don't take care of it at all, and your health is not what it should be. You could not talk about success. Or if you were to have health and you were to have finances, but you have no spiritual success, you are not in a growing, deepening, maturing relationship with God through Jesus Christ. You do not have any sense of what it means to fulfill God's plan, to live out what it means to follow Jesus. You don't have inner peace. You don't have true meaning in your life. You don't know what it's like to be free from guilt, of forgiveness of sins. You don't live in forgiveness of others. Then there's no way you can say you're a successful person. And if your career is not successful, again, many, finances, career, and then that's all there is to success. But that's important too. And that career, by the way, could be being a mother. That career doesn't have to be any particular kind of job. It just means whatever you're doing with your life in terms of the most hours of the day you spend doing your job, whether that's running a household or running a company or working on a computer or working in an office or working in a factory or fixing someone's plumbing, whatever it might be. That's the biggest chunk of time that you spend in your life. And so to not be successful at that, so that's a tall order then, to say, wow, that's a lot to be in success. Yeah, that's it, that there's success is a lot. Now, let's just look at this within another lens, if you would, and that would be the Barna Research Group, and George Barna has been around forever, alumnus of Boston College, as I am, and fantastic researcher. And so he asked the question, what do Americans believe is necessary to have lived a successful life? Listen to this. 1/3 said health and well-being of their family, or how well they raise their children would determine their success. So some do see it in the health, and then they also bring in the relationship part. 1 out of every 4 defines success in terms of tangible outcomes or accomplishments. Okay, so that could be under the career part, or it could be under the financial. 1 out of 4 have no idea what would signify that they had lived a successful life. We will correct that today. You will not be part of the 25% who don't know. Only 1 out of every 14 said anything related to spirituality or faith would result in success. And that would be a major miss, that many people are not seeing the importance of their connection with God and the relationship with God as absolutely crucial to what it means to live a successful life. So that's what the research says in terms of George Barna, and man, that is eye-opening for sure. Success, I think, does have a lot to do with the word done. Successful people talk about what they've done. I've been married for 25 years. I raised 2 kids that are relatively well-adjusted and can be contributing members of society. I am at a healthy weight for my size. I exercise 3 times a week. I have savings, I have investments, I have a degree of financial security. I have accomplished the following things in my professional life, whatever that might look like. I've started 7 different organizations, written 9 books. I'll just speak for myself. Those would be things that would come under the done part of it. And certainly in the spiritual, the done would be things like I'm living a life to please God. I'm not openly sinning. I'm not doing things that are immoral and unethical and wrong. I am pursuing a life to make a difference with my life, to be a blessing to other people. I am following the Spirit's leading in my life. I am someone who spends each day in a devotional time with the Bible, a devotion and prayer. I go to church regularly. I am serving in the church, serving others. I'm not just living for myself. I'm serving others. I am learning more about the Bible, but I'm not just learning it to know it. I'm applying it to my life. I am giving of my resources. I'm not keeping them all for myself. I'm following what the Bible teaches in regards to tithes, offerings, and alms. 3 kinds of giving, not just one. It's not just tithing. It's tithes, offerings, and alms. God wants us to do all those things, so I'm doing that. These would be the dones. Like I've done it. I'm doing it. I've been doing it. It's been done for a number of years. Those are the sorts of things that successful people talk about. So, what is successful if it's not just about material things? So here it is. Success is living out my purpose and growing to my full potential. Someone who's successful is living out their purpose in life, and they are growing to their full potential. They are living their life to reach their full potential. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Are you living out your purpose, and are you growing to reach your full potential? And to the extent that you are, then you are a success in all aspects of your life. Now, you may say, well, I'm successful in some of those areas, but not all those areas. Well, yeah, join the club. I mean, that's the whole thing about why success is a journey, because it's a never-ending quest. That's why you can't say it's a destination that you reach. I mean, someone says, well, I'm a millionaire, so I'm successful. Well, that's just a very short-sighted understanding of success. Not in any way to put that down, by the way. That's impressive. That's a done. But it's not all there is to being a success. To be successful in this definition, requires a number of success principles to be at work in your life, right? So, I mean, let's just review, like focus. You could never possibly, live your life's purpose and grow to your full potential without a great degree of focus on what your purpose is and the difference between where you are and what your full potential is. I mean, that just takes enormous focus and self-discipline, because you can focus on it, but then you have to move from the focus to the actual discipline. Like I'm disciplined enough to be able to follow through on that focus. Of course, hard work. I mean, nothing will ever replace hard work. I saw something the other day that said, stop scrolling, start hustling. Like hustling, grinding, whatever, words you want to use for today. Or you could just say hard work. I mean, it's all the same thing. I mean, there's just, you have to go after it. You have to really love it, You have to love what you do, and you have to just really go after it. And to be a good spouse and parent, and to be a good worker in terms of your career, your job. I mean, it just does not just happen. It takes effort. It's not easy, to get yourself up in the morning and get to the gym. I mean, it's effort, it's work. I've been doing it my entire adult life, and I can tell you what, it's just not easy. It's not. My wife learned that really the only way she could do it is if she got up and did it before work, because after work she always ended up not wanting to do it, not feeling like it. But my wife is someone who does not like to get up early in the morning, so I mean that was a real challenge. So it's just really something to see her get up 3 times a week, and just do it. And it just takes effort. There's nothing that will ever replace effort in your life. The effort you have to put in to be good to be successful. It just, nobody has, I don't care how talented they are. And again, you go through and you look at some of the greats, say in sports, like a Gretzky or a Michael Jordan or Jerry Rice, just to use 3 different sports, or is that Tom Brady? I mean, let's use Brady just because he's a little more recent than Rice. They're legendary for their work ethic, legendary for the effort that they would put in. Just, it's not just that they were the most talented, it's that they worked the hardest. Successful people don't feel entitled. Maybe with the exception of to the fruit of their labor. I do think successful people are like, I the fruit of my labor, and again, whatever that might look like, you want to be able to say, okay, I've worked hard and now I've earned a nice vacation or a nice break or something like that. I mean, that's sort of how a successful person thinks, that, I've done it and now I'm going to go and I'm going to rest and I'm going to enjoy and I'm going to rejuvenate. So I get back in it again, and I am a huge believer in that. I've done episodes on that about taking vacations and taking breaks and why it's so important to do that. Success is based on action. Successful people create opportunities. They don't wait for opportunities. Now, that is not to say that they do not get opportunities. In fact, they do. In fact, the principle in the Bible, which is a principle that Jesus taught in a parable of the talents. And basically, the story goes like this. One was given 1 talent, one was given 5, one was given 10. The one who was given 10 doubled it, made 20. The one who was given 5 doubled it, made 10. And the one that was given 1 buried it so he wouldn't lose it. And basically, the response of the owner is, well done to the 2 who did something with the talents they were given. In other words, when you're faithful in a little, then you get more. when you create opportunities, or you make the most of opportunities that are presented to you, God will give you greater opportunities. But if you bury it, if you do nothing with those opportunities, then you miss out. So successful people understand about creating opportunities, but certainly also making the most, as the Bible would say, of every opportunity that God is so blessing us with, that he's so good to us and loves us so much and wants us to have a future of success and hope. And so he blesses us in these sorts of way. So what else? Well, I mean, it just looks like things. I mean, this is just nuts and bolts right now. It's like, be early. Don't be late for work. Be early. Stay late. Make the extra call, send the extra email, do the extra research. Whatever you want to call it. It's just someone who has this sort of mentality of, I'm just going to keep after it. I'm going to keep doing more. So Russell Wilson, who most recently played for the Steelers, but is most well known for 2 trips to the Super Bowl with the Seahawks, won one, and then threw one of the worst interceptions in the history. Well, I mean, I think it's the worst in the history of the Super Bowl, and the Patriots ended up winning the game. He's from here in Richmond, Virginia, played football at the exact same time that my youngest son played. In fact, he and my son were up for Player of the Year for the Richmond Metro region. He had led his team to an undefeated private school season. My son had led his team to an undefeated public school, a large public school season, and a regional championship. They had won a state championship. The private schools play less games and less games to win a championship. So their records are very similar in terms of accomplishment for team, and then personal numbers. My son was a running back. Russell was a quarterback. So, you can compare them to a certain degree. Anyway, it is to say that Russell ended up winning. My son's never forgotten about it. He thinks he should have won instead of him. But that having been said, Russell's older brother, whose name was Harry, played at the same time football at the same time that my older son played ball. So we sort of followed their, the 2 sons in each of the families playing football at the same time. Their father's name was Harry or Harrison. So he was a guy that played football and baseball at Dartmouth in terms of the dad. And he had this kind of drive for success, and would get his kids up at 6 a.m. to practice sports before they went to school. And Harry, the older brother, Russell Wilson's older brother, was talking about one time he was driving his dad to the grocery store, and this is after his dad had a stroke, and we were talking about something, and he looked at me and said, "I just want to be a success." This is the dad. And Harry, the son, said it was so simple and poignant. In my dad's perception of where he was and what he was doing, he felt like he had so much more to do, that he wanted to be a success. Now, he was a doctor. He went to Dartmouth. He played football and baseball. And, he was a super successful guy here in our area. But he was just like, not done yet. There's always more. The drive to achieve is enormous in people that are successful. And so this success understanding as a journey means that throughout your life, you are on this success journey, and then there are stops in many different places. So you may master certain goals, and that's fantastic. That marks progress that you're making toward getting better and better, toward growing to reach your full potential. And that's the idea of the journey. And then the stops is because, yes, there will be, again, 9 books written. Those are, that's something you can mark each time a new one is done or organization started in my case, but use your life, whatever it might be. So you have these stops where you can say, okay, that's been completed, that's been done. That's what I wanted to do, and now I've done it. Now I keep moving because it's a journey. It's not over, but I also don't act like it's a journey without any stops. There are stops. You have to have a plan for your life, right? That's it. That's the journey, the plan. What is your plan for your health? What is your plan for your marriage, for your children? What is your plan for your finances? What is your plan for your job or career? What is your plan for your spiritual growth and development? What is it? Whatever it is, that's the journey you're on. And along the way, you will have markers that indicate you are making progress in the direction that you want to be going. So the effort is there. Then the strategy, the plan, right? This is my strategy. This is how I'm going to reach it. I have a strategy for how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do my devotions each morning. I'm going to go to church on Sunday. I'm going to work out these 3 or 4 days each week, and it's the same days each week. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know how I'm going to accomplish that. I'm going to get this professional certification so that I will be able to move up to a new level and be promoted. I will start this business, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is how the business is going to be successful, and this is how we're going to market, just whatever it is we're talking about. And then the persistence to just keep after it, I was just reading this week, because I'm writing something else leadership wise. I'll talk more about that in the days to come, and studying Churchill, and they called him the bulldog, it's just incredible determination. Just determined, just not going to give in and not going to give up. And man, what the guy did with his life, wow. You just have to continually, pay your dues, you have to just continually stay after it. And here's the thing that's really something about the journey with stops along the way, is staying successful can be harder than, sort of reaching initial success. And that's a surprise that I discovered. And that's a whole nother episode for sure. How do you stay successful after you reach certain levels? Because man, it is very intoxicating when you reach it, when you stop, and you have a stop, but it's a journey, so you can't stay there. You can stop there, but you can't stay there. So this is where you have to just bring in like mentors and coaches and consultants and read more books and go to seminars and classes, because it's like, okay, I've got to keep, I've stopped. And it's great, and I've celebrated it. It's important to do that. A very successful guy told me that one time, Rick, stop and smell the roses. Stop just going. Oh, you took the mountain, now you're looking for a bigger mountain. Stop and just celebrate. So you do need to stop. Success is a journey with stops along the way, but you can't stay. You can stop, but you can't stay. And in order to keep going forward, you may need to, get some more information about how to stay successful and how to keep moving on that journey of success, and not just be like, because success is not an ending. It's not a destination that you end at. You stop because you did accomplish it, but there is much more to do in your life. Again, when you are living out your purpose and growing to your full potential. So get that bigger macro view of your life, that success is a journey, not a destination, but there are stops for you for sure. And you want to keep growing in all these key areas in your life. You want to keep experiencing success in whatever area needs attention. Just as I talked today, and you're like, I'm doing good there and there, but I need to do better there. Then that's your area. Start working on. developing a strategy, putting in the effort, and being persistent and determined. Have a great week.
You've been listening to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to you joining us for our next episode.